Action.
All right, I'm Vicki Barbosa, giving you my presentation of learning, and I've told everybody that mine is going to be unique in the fact that I do just have one slide because I didn't want to have a bunch of slides that you would have to read. I'm wanting to just talk to you guys. So that was my rationale behind that. There were a couple of reasons why I took this class, but I mostly took it on a whim. You guys met Dr. Collier today. She works with my district, and she and I were talking about what did I think my future was going to be. And I was contemplating what my future was going to be, and being a former Texas State graduate for my master's, I'd gotten an email like the week or two before saying, hey, we have this superintendency course. What do you think? Well, I thought about it. I actually did stop and think about it, and then I deleted the email. But I realized I'd missed the deadline. And so she very nicely, while we're talking, got out her phone, called Dr. Aidman, and said, hey, I've got somebody who needs to be in your program. She's missed the deadline. Can we get her in? So I was very fortunate to be able to get in this program, and I'm really glad that I did. As you heard earlier today, I'm really good at telling a story and trying to tie in my story to whatever point I'm trying to get across. And so that was wonderful for me to be able to hear from our presenters, the presenters we had today even. Didn't know that was going to be as valuable as it was today. But our presentations by our superintendents, our presentation that we had yesterday, and the power behind telling your story. And the TED Talks. Even the TED Talks, I think I could just spend all day just listening to TED Talks and just listening to people talk, because there's some fascinating people out there, but there are little nuggets of information with every single person that you can then take and relate to something else. And I lost my slide. Just keep going. Oh, okay. I don't know if I can read it. It's got some roll. Here, I'll get it. Sorry. Undo it. There.
Here it is.
Okay. We'll just leave it right there. And so telling stories to me is very important as far as a district or even at our campus. Talking about your mission and vision. One of the things that I want to work on for this next year is I'm in charge of the campus, the community and student engagement ratings that each of the campuses have to do. And it was a struggle to get that to happen. And next year, as you know, it's going to become 10% of our accountability. And so I'm wanting to already be thinking of ways that our campuses could be doing a difference. So I'm wanting them to create a video that would allow them to tell their story and at the same time be able to help them determine what their ratings are going to be. And I think that's a component we learned from Christiane yesterday, is how important it is for each of our campuses and for our district to tell their story. And I think that we reinforced that with the speakers that we heard. And then as far as personal and just working in my position as director of assessment, it's very important for me to talk about, I was a campus testing coordinator, what that meant. I know very much what it was like to be a teacher and do testing. And then relate stories. Yes, we've made mistakes in the past. Let's learn from our mistakes. Let's look for what we can do different. But think about all the readings that we did this semester, this summer. Which ones were the most interesting to you? Were they the ones that started talking about the tacits of trust or the way people learn? Or did they really, really grab you because they started off with a story? I mean, think about General McChrysty and the story that he told. I mean, he totally grabbed you with that story and you were able to relate. And so that was important to me, is making the connection. Every single person that we meet, yesterday I found out that, I went to high school in the same town, El Paso, that Christiane went to. I taught at Pflugerville High School, had a connection with Dr. Dupree. Or all the people that you meet, there is a connection. I mean, you've heard of the phrase 6 degrees of separation? More times than not, especially for all of us around here, it's like a 1 degree. You have a connection with almost every person that you meet. And that helps build in with the trust of wanting to work with that person and build that relationship with that person. And which leads into the next part. I really like the activity about how he had us create the right team. Never thought about that before. And moving into central office this last year, it was an eye-opener for me. I've been at the campus, and the central office was over there, right? I'm at the campus, and stuff goes over there at central office, and we just shake our head and we'd say, why did I do that? I don't get that. Why was that person hired? I don't understand why that person was hired. And these two articles really spoke a lot to me. This Korn Ferry Institute article that we read, talking about our different types of ways of organizing our teams and how to work with them. And then the chapter 4 with Kay Warner was a very important article for me, because it helped me determine how I wanted to build an administrative team. It starts with listening. We found that out today when we talked to Harry Griffith. He talked to us about the first week that you've got the job, it's time to start listening. Or even before you get the job and before you go to work at the job, gather as much information as you can. But listening, gathering data, and then starting to make adjustments as you can. Don't make immediate adjustments, but start to look at people and see what skills they have before you start making those changes. Start building those relationships. We heard about Dr. Dupree, I think it was Mr. Dupree, talked about how he was going to have breakfasts once a week with about 5 or 6 principals, because there's so many campuses, say 100 campuses, he doesn't get to know the principals. So he's going to have a breakfast with those principals to help build those relationships, but mostly to gather data. What's going on at those campuses? What can I do to help you? How can your directors or your executive directors or your assistant superintendents, what kinds of things should they be doing? In building relationships, then you start to figure out, who can I trust? Who can I trust that's going to have my back? Recently with the new superintendent in the last 2 years, new people started getting hired, and including me getting into my position. And you can kind of see the behind the scenes things that were going on in his mind was, who can I trust? Who do I know? Who do I feel has the best skills for this position? And he was building his team, a lot like a sports coach might do, or in building their team. But it definitely requires trust. We've got to have very, very good communication. I have to say that sometimes I might have been at the campus was more skeptical by what was happening at central office, but now I have a better picture of why these things are happening, which leads me into the last part, the 30,000-foot view. You guys heard that phrase before? The campus level, you're in the trenches. You're right there with the kids. You're with the parents. But your superintendent is going to be at a different level, as we heard from Greg, I forgot his last name today.
Gibson.
Greg Gibson. He said he's there for the adults, right? Well, it's the same way here with 30,000-foot view. We can't get the superintendent down in the trenches. They've got to be able to see it from here. So when we communicate with that superintendent, we've got to be presenting to them with that 30,000-foot view. They don't want all the details. They really just want, okay, tell me what it is, and tell me how I need to help. And so in taking this course and learning this summer and being with all of you guys, it's really given me a clear picture of how I need to communicate with my superintendent, and then in working with my superintendent, whatever future that might hold for me. All right.